didn't feel comfortable. I didn't know how to insert myself into conversation without second guessing everything I would want to say. I didn't know how to control a conversation or when to make a joke or anything like that. If anyone's going to help me figure it out, it's going to be myself, because I know how I'm feeling. I need to look inside myself and figure out why this is the case and then work around it somehow. What I typically would do in the past with things is I would show interest in things. I'd get pretty good at things and then I'll just lose interest. And I think that's part of the ADHD. If you don't have an interest in something, you kind of just, fall off.
I think that's with everyone though, bro. Like, this is another reason why I don't like that they brand or that they categorize, a behavior with a diagnosis, because if you look at any kids in school, if you look at anyone in life, if they're not interested in something, they're not going to give two shits about it. They're not going to pay the time of day to it.
I agree.
I was the same throughout the whole of school. I had the potential. All my teachers were telling me, George, you have the potential to do very well, to be an academic. It's like, yeah, but I don't care. I don't want to pay attention in maths. I don't care what trigonometry means. But when it came to woodwork and working with my hands and playing rugby and going to the gym when I first started training, I found that I genuinely enjoyed it. I loved just bench pressing heavy weights like an idiot and hurting myself because it was fun. Like, I was strong.
You suffer much more in imagination than in reality. Day by day, what you choose, what you think, and what you do is who you become, according to Heraclitus. Therefore, if you are not happy with who you are, you must change what you choose, what you think, and what you do. It sounds much easier than it is, because breaking down habits built up over years that have led you to where you are is no easy task. But if we are to take some wisdom from Socrates, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Today's episode explores what it really takes to rebuild yourself from the ground up, just like our very special guest here with us today.
Once a broken teenager, battling depression and anxiety, just like he rebuilt himself, he built his business, G-Max Coaching, and his body from the ground up. Now being a competitive bodybuilder and a successful online coach, helping others change their identity the same way he changed his. This one is for all the men stuck in the dark, lost, but ready to fight their way out. Please welcome to the Jacked Philosopher podcast, George Adams. Welcome, George.
Thank you, boys. Thank you for having me.
How are we today?
I'm great. Not too shabby. Early morning. Yeah, good.
So we've seen you. Obviously, we've been training at Metroflex Gym, and that's where we sort of met you. We've seen you all over Instagram promoting mental health and promoting, obviously, physical transformation and achieving sort of physical excellence. And I guess I wanted to start with how you began on your journey. You've spoken about going through social anxiety and depression when you were a teenager. So I guess I want to ask where you came from to where you are now, physically, mentally, what changed, and how did you get started on that journey?
All right, well, we're going to have to rewind it probably a good 10 years or so, maybe a little bit more. But like you mentioned, social anxiety leading into depression and, a whole host of, internalized problems that I had to deal with mentally. So what got me started was the question. Okay. Well, I wasn't really happy with how I looked. Typically, I didn't really feel like I got a good look at whether that was from women or, even the boys and stuff. No one really gave me that chance to give me, what's the word, kind of
Confidence boost.
Yeah, essentially. So, how far do you want me to
Go as far back
as far as you want, bro.
Yeah.
Let's take us to the very start.
Okay.
The day you decided, okay, I'm going to join the gym.
All right. So when that would have been after a turning point, which was on a family holiday. And I talk about this in my VSL. But there was a point where I was on a family holiday with family friends, and these are people that we knew for years, right? And I grew up with them, and I knew them inside out. I knew everything about them. So I should have been comfortable, right? But the simple fact was my brother wasn't there that time that we went on that holiday. He went off with his mate, and they went on their own little holiday, whatever. During that holiday, I I can't even explain it really, but I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't know how to insert myself into conversation without second guessing everything I would want to say. I didn't know, how to control a conversation or when to make a joke or anything like that. And there was this point where we were on the beach and they were talking. It was two of the girls. They will know who they are if they listen to this. So I'm not going to name drop them or anything, but we were talking amongst each other kind of thing, but I wasn't really including myself in the conversation. I was just kind of sitting there, and I just wanted to say something, right? And I was like, just in my head, I was like, just fucking say something, dude. Just like, why can't you say anything? Just anything. And I ended up just walking away, right? Obviously, they felt a little bit uncomfortable, I'm sure too, because they're like, oh, we've known you for like 10 years, like being a little bit weird, right? And that starts playing in your head too. I walked over to my mum, and she was over there with my auntie essentially, and I was like, "Mum, can I talk to you?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah." And so we just like walked off to the side or whatever, and I was like, I broke down crying, and I was like, "I need help," and like I'm not okay. It's like some of the three hardest words for any man to kind of say.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it's also some of the most three important
Yeah,
because it's that by itself is a real pivotal moment. And I can relate to you with what you said there regarding that. And funnily enough, you said it was on a holiday too. That's where Nick and I also made the decision that we needed to change something about our bodies. It's weird because sometimes we might need that external environment where we're pulled away from our current routine, where we're not in the usual motion of, oh, I'm on my usual structure, doing the things that I do day in, day out. When you're pulled out of that, I think that by itself, being on holiday actually gives you the opportunity to potentially reflect on a level that you haven't reflected before because you are so caught up in that structure.
Well, you're taken out of the rat race being on holiday.
Exactly, that's right. And it actually gives you the opportunity, and I think it's completely done subconsciously as well. That's why the fact that yours happened on a holiday, ours happened on a holiday, other people's transformations or pivotal moments happen in either moments of adversity, trauma, or an outside environment or a foreign scenario.
yeah,
Where it takes that for them to come to that realization or that self-awareness of something.
yeah.
So I think that that's a very significant moment for you, bro, because I completely resonate. And I had a very similar moment when it came to my own journey, with my own weight loss as well. But take me further into that, bro. So you broke down in front of your mum.
Yeah.
You said that you needed help. And what was the process after that?
Well, after that, she was like, "What's wrong?" Obviously, and I was like, trying to explain, like, I just need to see someone. I only see a therapist or a doctor or whatever it was. Now, at that point as well, I had some friends that were on medication to treat it, right? And I was thinking, like,
Is this anxiety medication or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
anxiety/depression.
Yep.
Something like, I think Zoloft.
Yep.
I think that is, lies under that category. Anyway.
Mhm.
So essentially, after I actually broke down and revealed that to her and actually opened up to someone about it, I think the rest of that trip I wasn't as antsy and I wasn't as anxious, funnily enough, towards my family friends. I think I felt a bit more comfortable.
Episode of the Jacked Philosopher is brought to you by Metamorphysique, our coaching and mentorship program for men ready to transform their body, mindset, and life. We know what it feels to be stuck, overweight, unmotivated, undisciplined. That's where we started. And that is why we created a program that goes beyond training plans and diets. We rebuild daily structure, discipline, and the confidence that comes from building a physique that you're proud of. If you're ready to stop wasting time and finally take control, head to metamorphysique.com or DM us on Instagram at George_metamorph or Nick_metamorph to transform your body and transform your life. It's like a load will sort of lift off your shoulders, eh?
Yeah. And so if I try to remember as best as I can, the rest of that trip, there wasn't many days left, maybe like 1 or 2 days left. Kind of wrote it out. I think my brother maybe ended up coming or something, whatever. And the rest of the holiday was okay. We ended up getting back home that week. We ended up booking a doctor's appointment. Went into the doctor's appointment with the thought of, I can't wait to get this medication. It's going to fix me, this, that, and the other. The doctor did this test, whatever. I broke down crying there as well. She's like, how bad, do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, day to day, and this whole list of things. Anyway, did the whole thing, broke down crying there. And she was like, so I'm not going to give you any medication or anything like that, but I want you to go see a psychiatrist. In that moment, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I just want the medication, dude.
So did you tie sort of the potential improvement to your life to the medication?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know much at the time. Now looking back and knowing what I know about medications and pharmaceuticals and all that stuff, I'm glad I didn't. And also my experience with my friend who went ahead with the medication, how that turned out over a period of time too. We ended up kind of not being friends after a while because he became really emotionless. Anyway.
Just to give the audience a bit of preface, how long ago was this? Like, how old were you when you went to see this doctor for the first time? How much did you weigh, and what current? Because obviously people are looking at you now, thinking, surely this guy couldn't have been that small. Look at him. But obviously, just to give the audience a bit of a visualization, how much did you actually weigh back then? Like, how small were you, and how old were you when you first came to this realization?
When I first came to the realization that I had a problem, I was like 15. I like to think that I was pretty self-aware. I always think about stuff, right, and just overanalyze. But when I really, when this happened and I started to take the steps to actually resolve it, was, I believe, I want to say 16, 17.
And how much did you weigh then?
60 kilos.
And how much do you weigh now?
112.
There you go, guys. Just to show you what.
112 and lean.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Keep them coming, these compliments.
Yeah, wow. Don't worry, there's plenty of time.
Oh, yeah,
for
we'll
that
get
later.
there.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, so 112 lean now, I guess. But yeah, I guess, well, we'll get more into that later. But if I can do it, you can do it kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And we're all a testament to that. But yeah, so I think it was about 16, 17 when we finally did that. Ended up going for the psychiatrist session, and I didn't really go into it, thinking anything much was going to come out of it. But I went into it with an open mind, of course. This is a professional. Like, I like to think that they know what they're doing. By luck, I ended up getting an actual good psychiatrist, because I know some of them are trash from, experience that I've talked to people in the past that they've had.
Oh,
Yeah,
me too,
rough.
bro. When I first went so when I was younger, I've been diagnosed with, ADHD, ODD, all of that. I had anger management issues too. My parents took me to about 3 or 4 different psychiatrists to try and figure out what my behavioral issues were, which every single psychiatrist and doctor kept trying to tie to, just me being hyperactive and I had an issue with authority and all that kind of stuff. And the psychiatrist that they initially had sent me to was this Indian fellow, and he just looked at me and said, "Oh, he's built like a brick shit house." Like, 'cause I was just fat back then, right? But he's like, "Oh, we're going to put him on this medication." And he was, again, one of those medications. But my parents knew better, and they refused to. I was on Concerta and Ritalin for a number of years. I stopped that of my own accord at like 14 or 15 when I decided to just stop taking the medication. But yeah, regarding the experience in the professional medical field when it comes to diagnosing certain behavioral patterns and putting people on a spectrum, I personally think, and we'd probably all agree on this, that it is overdiagnosed, and associating a certain behavior that a child or a person may have with a diagnosis to then be able to put them on medication for that and say, okay, well, you've got this, so now we have an excuse to put you on this to numb this. I think is the complete wrong way to go about it, because as you said, you and your friend who you used to be close with, you saw emotionally what it did to him, and you kind of started to separate because, he became numb. And that's what a lot of these medications do, whether it's, the overprescription of opioids now, whether it's, the overprescription of ADHD medications, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, all these things that I believe at the end of the day are there to make profit for pharmaceuticals rather than actually try and help people.
100%.
Which we know what the most important thing to help people is.
Well, I definitely do agree with you. I definitely believe that these issues are overdiagnosed, and I think that at the end of the day, what they're doing is just treating the symptoms. They're not actually getting to the root cause of the problem. And I think your story is a testament to that, because you looked within and you found, I guess, the root cause of the problem. And yes, psychiatrists help. Having people to talk to definitely does help. But if you're not looking within yourself, then you're never actually going to progress. You need to take your fate into your own hands and start taking accountability and start sort of putting things in action that you know in the long term will help you. So I guess getting into, so you went to the psychiatrist.
Yep.
He was a good one, right?
It was a good one. So I didn't really know how it was going to go, or I think we had 10 free sessions or something like that.
That's a decent deal.
Yeah, it's just not bad. I think Medicare covered that. You know?
nice.
Pretty good.
Cheeky government benefits, right?
Yep.
But ended up going for the first one, and he gave me some, what do you call it? Some things to do on my own, some tasks to complete to try and get myself a little bit more comfortable in the situations where I was uncomfortable.
Bit of mindfulness and things like that.
100%. Putting myself into uncomfortable situations. What's the word? It's exposure therapy, right?
Yep.
Anyway, so I realized that from the first session, and I went and did a few of those things and got back to him with the results.
Well, what did those things look like?
So, for example, a lot of my anxiety came from being one-on-one with people, but also in a group where I wouldn't be given the time of day to have an input. That's where I was trying to get to before. It always got overlooked. I'd make a joke, for example, no one would laugh. Someone would make the same joke like 5 seconds later because they heard me say it or whatever. Everyone would laugh.
I hate that, bro.
One of those, yeah?
Yeah.
Horrible feeling that.
Yeah, I've
Soul
been through it
crushing.
myself. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
bro.
dude.
Just stepped on, just
Yeah, I was
self-esteem
like, just go
gone.
fuck myself, I
Yeah.
guess. We can swear on here or what?
Yeah, it's all right.
You sure?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. No, but 100%, dude. And yeah, so essentially it was like, go and tell me how you feel when you're in these environments, do this and that, and actually put yourself in more of these environments to start getting a bit more comfortable in them and see how bad it can get. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, I went and did that, try and force myself to be more in one-on-one conversations and just say what comes to mind, right? I feel like as well, if you want to get a little bit deeper with where my struggle with communication comes into play, I think it comes from, love your mum and dad, but my parents' divorce. So I never really remember them having normal communication. Okay. And so it's funny, during like kindergarten to all the way up to about year 4, I was all good. I would have chats with girls. I would have chats with guys. Nothing was wrong. I was always a bit of a class clown, making jokes, this, that, and the other. But then I don't know what it was. I think it was when they actually went through their proper separation. And then my dad moved out or whatever it was for a period of time. Then things just clicked and switched the other way around. And then I just couldn't get myself comfortable in those situations. So I think that's where it stemmed from. So I had to look a little bit more introspectively and start realizing that. I didn't realize this probably up until a few years ago, to be honest. And it uncovered a lot of reasonings as to why I was the way that I was. But went to first session, second session, third session. By the third session, I realized, hey, there's a bit of a pattern here, right? I'm starting to notice that he's just getting me to do exposure therapy, essentially. So what I did was like, I don't think I really need to depend on someone else to figure this out myself. You know what I'm saying? If anyone's going to help me figure it out, it's going to be myself because I know how I'm feeling. I need to look inside myself and figure out why this is the case and then work around it somehow. So I kept putting myself in uncomfortable situations and I wasn't looking forward to it, trust me, but I kept doing it and I kept doing it and I kept doing it. Now, where the gym comes in is I wasn't happy with the way that I looked. And I think that's where some of my social anxiety also stemmed from. I was always thinking people looking at my nose because I was a skinny kid, 60 kilograms, like, fucking, chuck a photo up if you want. But people were looking at my nose, people were looking at, it's a bit wonky to the side. And I started to overthink about that. Girls never really gave me the time of day. Girls used to think that I swung the other way, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
What gave that vibe off?
Probably the fact that I didn't have enough courage or confidence to pursue anything. So when I would show interest in someone and they'd show it back, I didn't know the next step to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because once again, going back to family household, I don't know what to do, dude.
Yeah, it's
Never
the
had a
hesitancy.
girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so I knew I didn't like the way that I looked, and that played a big role in it as well. And so some of my friends at the time were going to the gym. I decided I'll go along with them, right? Just get into it, see what it's like. Lo and behold, months go by. They start dropping off one by one. I'm like, fuck this. You know what? I'm gonna stick to it. What I typically would do in the past with things is I would show interest in things. I'd get pretty good at things, and then I'd just lose interest. And I think that's part of the ADHD, right? if you don't have an interest in something, you kind of just, fall off.
I think that's with everyone though, bro. Like this is another reason why I don't like that they brand or that they categorize, a behavior with a diagnosis, because if you look at any kids in school, if you look at anyone in life, if they're not interested in something, they're not going to give two shits about it. They're not going to pay the time of day to it.
I agree.
I was the same throughout the whole of school. I had the potential. All my teachers were telling me, George, you have the potential to do very well, to be an academic. It's like, yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay attention in maths. I don't care what trigonometry means. It's like, but when it came to woodwork and working with my hands and playing rugby and going to the gym when I first started training, I found that I genuinely enjoyed it. I loved just bench pressing heavy weights like an idiot and hurting myself because it was fun, like I was strong. So the whole ADHD thing, I think it's a term that's overused and overdiagnosed. But I think you made a very important point, right, which helps as to why you were able to stick to the gym. And I think that stems back to what you said with those psychiatric sessions where from a younger age you were forced to expose yourself to uncomfortable situations, which then you got used to, which in turn you gradually got better at doing over time. So that in itself was what seems to be that you're saying the start of the habit process for you turning into the person that you are today.
Yeah.
And the common factor here is that it all starts with getting comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I really I like the idea of exposure therapy because like Epictetus, I think, or even actually, no, it's Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, Marcus Aurelius says it. You suffer much more in imagination than in reality. So yes, it is very uncomfortable being in social situations, but you've got in your head that it's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. Whereas in reality, once you slowly expose yourself to it and you're like, okay, that's not that bad. I can slowly get used to it. And you go more and more and you start to build up your skills. And yes, it takes longer. It can be easier to just throw medication at it, but that's not fixing the root cause of the issue. And that's not going to help you progress and continue to improve yourself.
Agreed. 100%.
And I think it also interlays into bodybuilding as well very well, because it's the art of being comfortable in the uncomfortable. It's choosing your hard, which we all say, relentless pursuit, all these hardcore quotes that we keep talking about and continuing to show up every day, right? It's funny how well that ties in with bodybuilding, and it all starts with building that little habit of just getting yourself exposed to something that you are not used to.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be in bodybuilding. Like we just chose bodybuilding because, at the end of the day, we love it. We came from a place of where we were all extremely unsatisfied with how we looked. Not everyone starts like that.
Yeah.
Other people have different issues. For them, it might
100%.
stem, from completely something else. But with us specifically, it was our body. We needed to change our body because that's what we were unhappy with. I was 150 kilos. You were 60 kilos. Nick was over 100 kilos. It's like, okay, hang on. There's an issue here. We know that we've been neglected from social circles. We know that as a result of our bodies being the way that they are, plus the traumas that we, may voluntarily or not have gone through as kids as well, whether it be going through a divorce, whether it be me having my extreme behavior issues, and anger management stuff, and I didn't know how to manage those things. Whatever the case may be, it's, okay, I've identified that there's an issue here. Now, what am I going to do to try and fix that? How am I going to become self-aware and start that process of improving that? And, for us, it was bodybuilding. And I think it's a fantastic transition into that.
Going back to what you were saying before, so your friends started sort of dropping off a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, so they would drop off a little bit, right? And like I said, I would get, in the past, good at things like guitar or whatever it was, playing games or just whatever. I was pretty good at picking things up. Anyway, this one I really enjoyed. And it gets to a point, and we all know it as well. It's like, I'm not really getting the results that I thought I was going to get within the first 3-6 months. But there's some change there for sure. All right. But you just want to see it a little bit quicker. Now, one of the obvious, whether it's a stoic quote or whatever, but patience is a virtue, right? So that's one thing as well. This is the time. This time around, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick this out. Let's see what happens if I can stick this out for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years. And
What changed though between you saying
Yeah.
specifically you wanted to stick this out
Yeah.
with training specifically, as opposed to the things you had tried in the past, right? What was specific about the gym that you thought, okay, it's this that I'm going to stick to?
Yeah. There is a lot that led up to this moment, right? We're talking years. So it's sometimes hard for me to go back and think, what was it exactly that made that switch for me mentally? But I think it was the accumulation of a lot of things.
Okay.
So like I said, the social anxiety, which led to the depression, which led to me, having suicidal thoughts, which led to drug and alcohol abuse, which led to me lashing out against my family, leaving in the middle of the night at like 16 years old to go drink up with mates at a local park.
Yep.
My parents not knowing that, doing parkour, ridiculous hours of the night, 2 a.m. And I think where it really switched, dude, was probably there was at the time there was a girl that I liked, and similar kind of situation, liked her, she liked me back, but didn't know how to go across that line. And then she ended up liking some other guy, right? And that just crushed me. After that, I think that's when all of the accumulation of all of these things, me leaving school, about to leave school, right, about 18 years old, and figuring out what I wanted to do, and I had no idea. I knew I was good at maths, I was good at science, I loved physics and chemistry and all of those things, so I thought I'd go into electrical engineering. But alongside that, I'm veering off, I know. The switch was, I don't know when it was, but I just decided to myself, can I swear?
You're right.
Nah, fuck this.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. I'm going to stick to this as long as I can.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's about reaching that breaking point. And
Yeah.
me and you are very similar in that regard. I think all three of us are similar. And something that has been a very common topic, even on this podcast, the physical. Easiest thing that you can do off the bat is change your body, because it is something that you don't have to like go out of your way. It's not like booking a trip.
Yeah.
It's not like saying, I'm going to apply for a job, see if I get it, whatever. Your body is literally something where as soon as you make that decision, you can start right then, right now. It's like, okay, right now I'm going to go for a walk. Right now I'm going to go prep my food. Right now I'm going to go curl that dumbbell.
Yep.
So I think it's a lot easier to be able to do that as the first, port of action when it comes to creating any sort of sustainable change, because it is essentially immediate.
Mhm.
Like the actual, not the changes or the results may not be immediate, but the action that you take is immediate.
Yes.
But as you said, it reaches taking that some sort of, breaking point, whatever that looks like for you. And, for us, it was similar. I was the same, bro. I was returning home at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. For some days, I wouldn't come home for 1-2 days at a time.
Yeah.
Off my head, and I reached a very similar. That's why I think me and you get along so well, because, and we connected pretty much when we first met at the gym straight away, because the stories are very similar, and
bro.
I love how we can actually all connect through bodybuilding and through conversations like this to be able to explore people's stories, because I know for a fact that there are so many other young men out there that are struggling with this.
Well, I think just going off that, I think it's part of the human experience. I think it's especially the male experience where we kind of have no direction. We're at a crossroads and there's two paths we can go down. We can go down the easy path,
The path of destruction.
Yeah.
well, yeah, the path of destruction, and we all did to an extent go down that path,
Yeah.
whether it's drugs, alcohol, partying, all sorts of self-destructive habits. But I think, like you said, all these things kind of come to a point,
Yeah.
and there's sort of like a catalyst that kicks off our journey, and we kind of think to ourselves, okay, the way I'm heading, I'm either going to be dead or arrested. So I need to make a change, because this is really important. This is serious stuff. And as men, we do have goals. We've got long-term goals that we want, but it seems that for a lot of people, it's just fantasy.
Yeah.
And with us who have managed to get off that path and onto a new one, I believe that it comes down to sort of, we want more for ourselves. Let's take the first step to achieving our goals. And the first step for us was working on our body.
Yeah.
Your story, George, I wanted to ask your opinion on this, because, we always like to know the different opinions from different people we bring on about, obviously we've made our own physical changes now. We've done that decision, right? Now, as coaches, all three of us, right, our goal is to try and help other people achieve those same things.
Yep.
We obviously have our different methods of doing that, but in your opinion, why do you think so many young men are still struggling with actually reaching that level of self-awareness, making that initial change, finding that breaking point? Because we see it everywhere, right? Whether we each go on consult calls and then we end up pulling our hair out after, thinking, fuck, like, you've just told me all the reasons why you need to make change, right?
Yeah.
And then
I can help you, bro. Like,
exactly, I can actually help you get there. But there's either a commitment issue, or then it's I have to think about it, or whatever the case may be, right? What do you think is the ultimate limiting belief of young men nowadays that stops them from actually reaching where they want to get to?
I think when it comes to those decisions, I think the person has to be ready internally. Now, there's a difference between literally, really honestly being ready for it, or you throwing another excuse out there to just avoid it. Now, for me, when I started training and everything, I think I did 1 or 2 years by myself. I was stubborn. I was like, let me figure this out by myself, I like to learn things the hard way.
Yep.
It is what it is. I know
we were the same, bro. We were the same.
Yeah, I'm just like that, right? Trial and error. It got to a point where I was like, I'm not really getting the results that I think I want. I'm seeing other people go to this coach and they look really good, dude. Like, maybe it's time for me to make that switch and dive into it. Now, if I was ready mentally and wasn't so stubborn, I would have done that from the get-go for sure. But I'm glad I made the decision when I did. And whatever price that, his name is great and he knows, he's a great guy. He taught me a lot, about myself and morals and how to hold yourself with respect and how to uphold yourself as a person, as a man. Whatever price he would have come at me with when it came to that coaching, bro, I would have done it. I wasn't making good money, I was working part-time. I think at that time probably was like Subway or something.
But you were
like
invested
that.
in yourself.
But I was ready to invest in myself because I was past that point of excuses. Because I was already about 1-2 years into that journey. But yeah, I think it really comes down to the fact that people just really need to be ready. And you can try convince someone of that. But if they're not internally ready for it, there's nothing you can do will help them regardless.
Do you think that there's a lot more external influence nowadays that determines whether young men, how quickly they reach that stage of being ready or not? So when we talk about things like social media, all the poison that we see that, preaches body positivity. And now you've got this whole line of fat personal trainers and, really overweight personal trainers trying to, really push for that. Oh, it's okay to be fat. Like, you can be healthy at any body size. Well, fucking no. First of all, you can't, right? We know from both medical anecdotal data, all medical data that exists that, the heavier you are, the more unhealthy you are, the more your organs are suppressed to being, shut down, heart disease, increased risk of X, Y, and Z. So taking into account all these external influences, right, that are seen from both, social media, from different propaganda, whether it's from government, whatever, pharma trying to push more pills down people's throats, the news saying stop eating red meat, all these things. Do you genuinely think that it is harder nowadays for those young men to actually come to that conclusion and to realize, oh, there is a self-awareness that I need to come to? How much of an effect do you think that these external influences play into that decision making of that man?
I think it plays a big part, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate, and I'm actually going to say that I think it's going the other way now. Now, we do see a lot of that, body positivity for the wrong reasons on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever it is. Yep. But I think we're seeing the trends on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram of young kids getting into the gym, right? And now I won't get into the what do you call it? Not the bro science, the science-based lifters side of things. Yeah. Look, good on them. They're still getting into the gym, still looking after their health and themselves. Whichever which way you're going to do that, up to you. But I think it's taken a turn for the better. I think the minority is extremely loud and it garners a lot of attention, and so it fills up a lot of our feed, and that's what a lot of that noise is covered. But I think that honestly is the minority.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I do think the tide is turning. I think maybe about 10 years ago or so, it got to a pretty bad point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
But I do believe that people have had enough. Young men have had enough.
Yeah.
And we went from not encouraging people to self-reflect and to actually take charge of their well-being, we went from that to now having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And the whole reason why we even started this podcast is because we noticed that there is a trend of young people and young men in particular having these thoughts, having these conversations, and we just wanted to bring that to the public eye because I think it's very, very encouraging to see, and I think there is hope for the next generations as we come through. So
Do you reckon COVID played a part in that? The fact that so many people were stuck in lockdown and, again, like you said, then it was, we knew what the majority were thinking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it was the minority that were given the voice,
Yeah.
right? But do you think that those couple of years that we spent essentially not allowed to do anything actually started to play on a lot of young men's minds and say, well, you know what, stuff this. I don't want to even see a potential of this happening again.
100%.
I'm going
Yeah,
to
I
make
do
a
believe
change.
so.
100%.
Because after those events is when I generally started to see the pendulum starting to swing back. Like that's when you'll see people like the Tate brothers right now.
Yeah.
I may not agree with everything that they say,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the general vibe of, the whole masculine thing, be
Working
a
on
leader,
yourself.
working on yourself. Exactly. That resonated with a lot of people. Whereas if
Yeah.
they had said that pre-COVID, I think they would have been shut down a lot earlier
It would
on.
have been
But
ripped apart.
exactly. But the fact is that got traction, and you got traction for a reason. Now, you can say whatever you want about them, but a lot of people agree with a lot of the things that they say. And there's a reason for that. It's because deep down, when you look at the core values and beliefs that a man should hold as a leader, as someone who holds the traditional values of being the caretaker in the family, the protector, all those values embody a strong man, both physically and mentally, a stoic man, a man who places a power that is higher than himself. That's why we see religion starting to make a comeback now as well. And people, even us on the previous podcast that we had with the police officer, Arthur Katsogiannis, his faith has been the biggest pivotal moment in his life that changed him from, and he was an ex-bodybuilder too. He was a Mr. Australia who competed in the NABA and the IFBB.
Okay.
So, he's now devoted his life to, to the faith and to serving the church and to helping, and he's very open about it. And it's the humility that I think comes with acknowledging that high power and, having those characteristics that embody that leadership, those true qualities of a man. And I think that's what's starting to come back because people are starting to resonate with those qualities again and realizing we need to come back full circle.
I
It's
agree.
okay to be masculine.
I agree. 100%. 100%, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of the whole COVID lockdown thing, I think that had the opposite effect of what was intended by the powers that be. I think
Yeah.
that it really sort of opened people's eyes to we cannot allow them to have this much control over us. And like you said, it's the minority that was the loud
Yeah.
voice. And I think now it's becoming more and more we're not a quiet voice anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we're actually taking a stand for what we believe
Yeah,
in,
dude.
and we're encouraging others to do the same. And you see that in all the communities that we're involved in, all the, the gym community and our church community as well. People are slowly starting to kind of, I don't want to say wake up to themselves because that's a bit harsh, but essentially that's what it is. People are fed up with being unsatisfied with the way their life is going, and there's a big push to improving yourself, taking accountability for your actions, and actually striving to live a life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. And we see a lot of people striving for excellence. And I wanted to ask you, because one of your favorite quotes that you supplied for us was one that resonates with both of us as well. It's the quote by Aristotle, which we spoke about in episode 1, where we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act but a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we spoke about the first half a little bit. I want to get more into the second half. So, excellence is not an act but a habit. How do you define excellence?
We'll go back and going back to what we were talking about, I think before, was can you achieve excellence? No. But can you pursue it? Yeah. And I think the pursuit of excellence is where satisfaction lies within yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
It goes back to also to that saying of chasing perfection. Well, I can't exactly remember that saying. You can never be perfect, right? Essentially, but you can always chase perfection. It's the same with our physiques.
Yep.
We're never going to be perfect, but we always chase perfection.
We always say, you know, something that my coach says to me is learn to be satisfied but never content.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're always essentially striving for improvement, knowing that we're never going to get perfection, because as soon as we start to become egotistical and start to think I'm already the best,
Yep.
you know, I don't need to improve on anything. That's when we firstly stop learning. We make the decision to stop learning, which we know will ultimately be our demise.
Yep.
We stop giving ourselves constructive criticism, which will ultimately, you know, lead to our turmoil because we think that we're better than everyone. And that's where bodybuilding can take that very dark turn, which a lot of people, you know, like we said before, you can either go down this path or that path. And that goes both with the decision that you make when you come to that self-awareness like we all did. And it's like, okay, good, I've chosen the path of improvement, but even within that path of improvement, there's still a road that you can choose to take. And one can either be, I'm taking on this road of improvement, especially in the aesthetics game, you know, for these reasons, because I want to self-improve. I genuinely want to, you know, be the best version of myself that I can be. Or you reach that second fork in the road where it's like, okay, now I look amazing. I'm better than everyone else, right? I can shit on everyone because of that now.
Yeah.
And then I can make fun of the people that I used to look like.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, hang on, there's a fine line
It's
there.
a dangerous game to play.
It's very dangerous because I think as soon as you think you've achieved something and you're done learning, done improving, I think that is a trap that is very easy to fall into, but that's when you become stagnant.
Yep.
So like you said, I completely agree with you. I think it's the pursuit of excellence, but never actually getting there, because once you achieve a goal that you set out to achieve, it's like, okay, on to the next one.
Yep.
Let's aim for more. Let's raise the bar even higher. And as soon as you lose that drive, that will to sort of keep learning, keep developing, keep pushing yourself past the limits that you've set yourself, then that's where the true power is. And that's where excellence is a habit, because we know we're never going to get there because our definition of excellence is constantly changing.
Yeah,
So,
exactly right.
and that's a very important idea to have in the back of your mind. Even if you, for example, get your pro card in bodybuilding, it's like, well, now you're starting again.
Yeah, 100%.
You're starting from the bottom.
That's what I don't think a lot of people realize too. And we see this all the time, right? And the top coaches will talk about it, but you'll look at the more, you know, like our level, you know, amateur bodybuilders are like, oh, all I want to get is the pro card. All I want to get is the pro card. It's like, okay, all well and good. Once you get that pro card, you're essentially at our level again. You're
restarting.
You're restarting. Like, now you're going up against people like Urs Kalesensky, who just went from classic to qualified for the Open Olympia. You're going up against people like Nick Walker, who, you know, are complete genetic freaks. It's like, bro, you've got another 10 years of work to put in.
Dude. Yeah.
But knowing that fact, what do you think about? Because for some people, they can see that and become very, very frightened by it. They can be scared. Like, okay, I've got my pro card. That was my life achievement. Now I'm starting again. So how does that make you feel? Where it's like, okay, you've achieved so much. Now do it again. I think for bodybuilders, this is why it's such a cool mentality to have, because you're never satisfied and you're constantly chasing improvement.
Yeah.
It's back to what George said as well before, you know, sorry to interject, but you said, you know, it goes back to the original thing, right? The exposure therapy, being comfortable in the uncomfortable. You getting a pro card status and then starting from the beginning, you're thrown in that deep end again. You're learning to adapt to yet another uncomfortable situation on top of the so many, you know, things that you've had to endure just to get to that level. It's like, oh, now I have to do this all again. And I think that's what separates the champions or the people that stick through things. And not just that, you know, top Olympians, top basketballers. It's like you'll see all the top athletes in the world, the F1 drivers, whoever it may be, they're still driving the most laps around the track.
Yeah.
Right? And they're already the best in the world.
Yep.
You know, the best swimmers are still swimming the most laps in the pool, even though they've already won 4 or 5 gold medals.
Yep.
There's a reason why they do that, because they're always striving. And I think that's where the biggest difference is between those who, you know, are happy with the mediocre. And again, if that's who you are as a person, that's fine, but don't complain about the situation that you're in.
That's exactly right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, George. So, obviously, you've started your gym journey now.
Uh-huh.
You were training for a few years. You started to see a little bit of size being put on, when you were sort of, 16, 17.
Uh-huh.
Take us a bit further now. When did that passion for training then turn into, you know what, I might be able to help other people do this through my own experiences? Walk us through that.
Okay. So obviously when with most of us start training, we never really have that at the forefront of our mind. We never really have the thought that we're going to become coaches. Some people do, I guess, but I think it's rare. I think the people that do that, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They see the online coaches traveling to Bali and this, that. Yeah. All right. Anyway, but when did it start? So obviously during that period of time, so started training about 18 properly and consistently. So 19, 20. I was in and out of uni studying electrical engineering, right? And I thought that's what I was going to do. I wanted to get into science, but my physics teacher, at the time in high school was like, look, don't do it because you're not going to make a buck. Like you're getting base salary 60K if you go into science. Go into an engineering field. I'm like, cool, okay, sweet. Well, I like physics, I like some chemistry and stuff like that. I looked into chemical engineering. I'm like, nah, I don't really think there's that much growth there or anything like that.
I mean, in the bodybuilding industry now, there could have been, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Could have had
Should have stuck with it.
Could have had our own lab, bro. Man,
should have stuck with it. Hey, I'll be making some bank under the table, right?
G makes metamorph pharma, bro.
You see the labels, just
that's it.
Metamorph is a bit too literal.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's the name that we're gonna run with.
That's gold, bro. That's
could have. No? Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, I was looking at a few different ones. I was thinking, mechatronic, mechanical, civil. I'm like, I don't want to do any of those. Let's go for the hardest one.
Yep.
Let's go electrical engineering. So I went into electrical engineering, and I was there on and off. So I think I did the first semester, then I deferred. During this period of time, I didn't have money. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for work or what to do on the side whilst training as well, because I knew that kept me sane and I loved it at this point in time.
It was your anchor.
And it was great for me, like mentally and physically, of course, but especially mentally, as well as work at the same time. So there was that triangle. Now, for me, electrical engineering is difficult, dude. Like, it's hard. I'm not going to lie. And there are some people that are just freaks at it. They're smart as hell. But they've been doing this stuff for years before they even got into the course. Like, they understand the basics.
They get it.
And they get it. They grew up around it. I didn't. So I throw myself in the deep end, and I would defer. I was working on the side at that time at McDonald's, and I was doing, I think, another job too, just like a cashier or something. So Macca's, and I was in and out. Then I went to Samsung. I did a full time there. Working in the store.
Was that like as a sales rep or?
Not sales rep, but it was, what do you call it? Tech support and sales too. I did that for a full year. Thought I'd make some cash, help myself out so that I could continue with my engineering journey. Because to do all those things at once, it was a lot, a lot. Anyway, so I did that. Then I went back to uni. I think I was about 21 at this point. And there was that semester I went back, I was like, I'm just not feeling it, eh? Like, I'm losing my passion for it. I don't really care for it anymore. My passion is I still want to help people. I wanted to help people with engineering. I just didn't know how as well. But I still wanted to help people, but in a different way. By this point, I kind of realized like how much training and bodybuilding has done for me. How far it had taken me, from even in those 3 years.
Was there a specific moment that actually made you make that decision? So you said you didn't see yourself continuing electrical engineering, but was there a certain pivotal moment where it's like, you've either seen a sudden change in your bodybuilding progress or you've seen something else change in your life? Was there an ultimate decision-making factor there that you said, okay, that's it, done, I've bitten the bullet, piss off electrical engineering, pursue this full-time?
Yep, there was. So I was studying for ENC, it was called Electronics and Circuits, I believe. It had like a 70% fail rate.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I studied my ass off for this. And if some of the boys I'm still in contact with on Instagram, he might watch it. Anyway, and we studied our asses off for this. I said to myself, I was like, if I don't pass this, like, there's no chance that I'm going to continue with this because this is tough shit. And I was, like I said, hours on hours of studying and working and just running myself into the ground. I was losing that happiness with myself.
Yep.
I think it was after or before the exam. I can't exactly remember. But I went for a shower this one night after like hours of studying. I went in the shower and I just sat down in the shower. There was water pouring over my head like a movie scene. And I sat
We've
there.
all had those moments,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yep.
I sat there. I'm like, dude, I'm just not happy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing this for anymore. Am I doing it for myself or for others' satisfaction? Because living in a Greek household or a WOG household,
You want to always please your parents,
right? There's expectations of you to go and get a good job and have a family and buy a house, and that's usually how the trajectory of it all. So it was a big thing, and I've always thought I was a bit of a black sheep in my family, to be honest. I always viewed myself as that. Not like I'm the black sheep, but that's just how
me and you both, bro. Don't worry, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
I was always always doing my own thing.
it must be in the name.
Maybe it is, bro.
100% it
Maybe it
is.
is. We should just change it.
Every George I know, it's like, yeah, man, I was a troubled one. I'm like,
I would just change my name, bro.
yeah, that's
Go back to engineering.
oh, own it, bro.
Yeah. All right, I'll own it.
Own it, bro. That's what we're doing here. We're owning
You're
it.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the shower and I was like, nah, I'm dropping out.
Yep.
I either swap to something else. So I was thinking like software engineering, or programming or something of the sort. Or I drop out and figure out what I want to do. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew how well training and bodybuilding made me feel and how much I had grown mentally and internally from it. And so the only logical step was to, want to help other people do the same kind of thing. Help them through their mental battles, their struggles, their depression, their anxiety, whatever it is, dude. Like, it can help you, right? If you allow it to help you and you're willing to be open-minded. So that was the natural course of action. After that, I spoke with my parents. They obviously were like, no, it's just, PT is just an on-the-side job. You can't make a full-time job out of this. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll figure it out,
Yep.
This is what I love to do. I love to help people. And I love training.
Why do you love to help people though? Where do you think that comes from? Like, why specifically? Because people grow up in all different areas of life, and then some people are like, I want to be a stockbroker, I want to be a real estate agent, I want to do this. They have a monetary goal attached to the job that they want to do because they know that it pays well, or it's what the education system pushes, or have to go get a degree. Whereas I want to try and explore the concept of why us specifically, right? Because we're very similar like that. I've always wanted to help people, but why do we want to help people? What do you think has been ingrained in us from either our parents or even from God, or what characteristics or morals that have now that you're a grown man have actually made the decision saying, you know what, I actually want to be able to give back and I actually want to help people, and I want to turn that into a career.
Yeah.
What do you think has actually shaped you to have that outlook and actually wanting to give back?
I think obviously with upbringing, in terms of upbringing, parents obviously very, always like, be nice to people, show respect to people. It'll always, be good karma in the future. And so I've always treated people with respect, number one. Number two, I think where it also stems from is the fact that I didn't really have anyone to guide me through my troubles, right? And I had to figure all of this out, everything on my own.
Yep.
And it may have come from a little bit of, stubbornness in me not wanting to open up to my dad or my mum about it because I didn't want to overwhelm them because they had their own problems going on. And so I took it upon myself to just internalize it, figure it out. Yep. And so I want people to have an outlet where I can help them do that, right? And have someone to fall back on like I didn't,
I can completely empathize with that, bro, because I'm pretty much almost the same. But again, like we spoke on my last episode, having to go through those adversities by yourself, I think it is very important for a man to go through a period of his life where he's alone. Yeah. And he experiences loneliness.
Yes.
I know that as much as we love and, the power of community is so important, at the same time, on the flip side of the spectrum, it is just as important for a man to know and experience what it's like to be alone so he can fight his own battles, because that is ultimately what is going to shape him to be that leader and then to lead other men, to lead the congregations. Because if he doesn't experience that, then that's where you get a lot of these fake leaders or a lot of these people that just talk out of their ass. And then when push comes to shove, you see who the real men are.
100%.
You know, you'll see it straight away from the way they carry themselves, from the way they speak, from the way they approach and respect others in conversation, whatever it may be. You can tell if someone's been through it. And obviously, you know, I'm not saying that we've been through it to the extent, like, you know, there are people in war-torn countries, there are people that, but it's all relative, right? You know, in our generation, in our demographic where we are brought up to experience such comfort and such ease of access and whatnot, you know, and this is something that we've spoken about again in the past, it is so easy to let yourself become accustomed to the general comforts of life and avoid adversity at all costs, that when something like a little issue comes up, or, you know, I don't have time, or, you know, I don't think I'm able to dedicate, you know, myself to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z, or put on 30 kilos of muscle or lose 50 kilos of fat. They see it as such a big thing because they've never actually had to go out of their comfort zones. They've never actually had to spend that time alone in any form of adversity to learn about themselves, right? So they don't think it's necessary. They don't think that setting these goals is essential. I mean, that's where people get caught in that constant loop of mediocrity, of unsatisfaction. And they don't realize that until 30 or 40 years down the track when it's already too late. Because by then, as we know, bro, we're creatures of habit, right? And just like we had our bad habits when we were younger, just like you had your social anxiety when you were younger, you couldn't talk to people. I was the same. You know, I had my bad habits as well. I was eating the same disgusting foods nonstop, you know, for years on end, throwing the wrappers behind my bed. Mum would come into my room and clean out, bro, literally Kit Kat wrappers, empty popcorn. It was a pigsty. It was fucked.
Jesus Christ.
That was happening for years, right? But I didn't think I had a problem because I'm like, you know what? I can just, who cares?
That's the first step. The first step is self-reflection and acknowledging that you do have a problem. And that problem needs to be addressed. And then the second step is actually deciding to take action, setting up challenges for yourself, because we are very lucky with where we are, where everything is at our fingertips and everything, the ease of access is, you know, is very convenient. So,
exactly. And to link it back, sorry, that's why I think it's important for you to spend time yourself without the ease of access to these things, to purposely put yourself through a form of adversity, to go through that learning process where it's like, you know what, I don't need someone else to hold my hand here. I just need to be alone and just figure shit out for myself. And I think that is a very important thing that, you know, has become significant in all of us essentially becoming coaches and using our own experiences to help people and say, hey, bro, I've been there. Like, I can actually help you with this. Would you agree that literally, bro, a lot of what we do, like, you know, because think about it. Anyone can write a training and a nutrition plan, right? You got people doing it on ChatGPT, you got all these people. But how many people can actually provide check-ins and feedback to clients that are genuinely going through shit, that don't know how to approach, you know, certain, whether it's an event, whether it's a, you know, something psychological that's going on in their personal lives, right? Out of all the coaches that we know in such a saturated industry, you know, how many do you really know that have not only gone through experiences like yours, right, that can actually connect with the client on an empathetic level and say, hey, man, you know, I've got you through this. Like, I can actually help you because I know exactly what it is that you're going through. And how important do you think in the coaching industry that it is that those types of coaches are actually around that can be able to connect with the clients on that empathetic level?
So I was going to bring this up earlier with the point that you made, Nick, but it'll be suited for now too, is that I think that trainers, or not trainers, all trainers and coaches are more normalized these days, right? So it's normal to say like, hey, like my coach, or hey, I have a trainer, or this, that, and the other. It's very normal, which is a great thing. Now, there's a difference between a trainer and a coach, okay? And I think that distinction needs to be made. A lot of online coaches are just trainers, essentially. Go eat this. Go do this exercise. Oh, cool. Let's swap this exercise out for this exercise. Sweet. Anyone can do that, right? The distinction needs to be made, right? And I think we need to obviously establish that I'm not a medical professional or anything like that. But then, you know, looking at it from the other side, the flip side is that a lot of people who are psychiatrists or psychologists have never fucking gone through shit, dude. They haven't. So they're not even able to speak from experience. That's why they can't help others, you know, when you have a bad therapist. Anyway, so being able to have that experience and relate it with other people, I think is extremely immense in its value. And I think that's why, you know, speaking for myself, a lot of my clients tend to stay on for a longer period of time. Because number one, we build that connection.
Yep.
And number two, it's more than just macro training or macro coaching. You understand the person, who they are, the struggles they've gone through, and that all goes hand in hand.
And what makes them tick, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's it's not only a way how you can obviously create better LTV in terms of, you know, client retention.
I don't even do that on purpose.
Yeah, but that's just a byproduct of you providing the service that you do and being like, with each weekly check-in, you know, I'm giving you tips on this and this and this, you know, consistently adding, you know, whether it's education modules or whether it be, you know, cook, whatever it is, right? Just little things that we can do to give back to the clients that realistically, as we know, for what the industry standard is, we don't have to do because we could get away with a lot less, right? But going that extra mile, right? You know, posting that extra video, booking that extra call, right, with the client. Like a lot of coaches now, I know for a fact, it's like, if you want to have a call, you have to book a consult call with me, you know, or it's an extra paid call or only WhatsApp messages.
Pay
and,
an
you
extra
know,
$100 for the next 30 minutes.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? It's like, and look, for some very small niches where the time for that coach is extremely competitive. I'm talking about top level coaches, you know, bodybuilding consults, you know, with a very, you know, Olympian size coach. Different story, I understand. But for general, you know, smaller coaches who have got their own businesses that are looking to actually give the most value to their clients, I don't think saying like, hey, bro, I've got an extra 10 minutes now, just pick up the phone, you know, ring me if you're genuinely stuck spot. It's like, that shouldn't even have to be like a second thought in your head. It's like, yes, I get it, we're all busy, but if you genuinely care about your clients, you know, you're going to have the time, even if it's a voice note.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, sorry I couldn't get back to you on the phone. Like, you know, regarding this X, Y, and Z, whatever, 2-3 minute voice note. If you want to talk it about further, let's jump on the phone.
And I think it's very, very powerful to create that connection and that sense of community of people that are like-minded, that are searching, that are trying to find who they are and who they want to be, and creating that sort of I guess that sense where people relate to each other and they know that they're all going through the same struggles and they've lived similar experiences. And this isn't a new concept. This is something that's existed since ancient Greek times, 100%. Thousands of years ago, where
they all used to gather in the theater.
They used to gather and they used to have a symposium. They used to talk about these things. Yes, they were on the journey by themselves, internally within themselves, but they would come together and share these ideas and sort of, that's exactly what we've been doing as well. We've been, you know, with our calls with JP, who we're going to see next week.
By the way, I have to give a shout out to, you know, JP and just to all the boys in general.
Boys,
you know, our group, like, yes, this is our podcast, but honestly, if it wasn't for our group, and I'll name them, like, you know, Ivy, JP, James Rosewarne, yourself, you know, Jerome Simpson, if it wasn't for even Metroflex Gym and Manny, you know, Manuel Velas, the general culture and the vibe that community has been able to create, bro, and even, you know, the small groups within that gym, it's honestly for us been life-changing, not only from a business perspective, but even from the people that we surround ourselves with. Like, I would have never met you if it wasn't for, you know, me saying to Nick, hey, bro, let's just go train at this place called Metroflex. It looks like the one that Ronnie Coleman trains at, you know, it's owned by a Greek guy, whatever. And
it really does feel like you're going there to improve yourself with like-minded people surrounding you.
Like, you look at boys like the established bodybuilders, you know, John Harsudis, it's like, you know, he's someone as well that I want to try and bring on the podcast as well, if you'd be open to it. But, you know, they have an aura about themselves. It's like, you know that these boys are in there to freaking work, and it's like, mate, you know, there's no bullshit. It's like, you're here to get shit done. You know that you're there to improve. You'll never see them speak ill about anyone else either. Like, same thing with Jerome. Everyone is always, and these are the big boys. Like, you know, you're included. You'll be, if not already, bro, like, you're included in that group too. You know, with a
another
guys, the heavies and super heavies. They're like the elders.
I'm super heavy now, technically.
Give me another 2 off seasons, and I'll be joining that club too. Hopefully, bro. A couple of extra grams of that anyway. But But yeah, the community, that by itself, as I said, the amount of difference that has just made to both Nick and I's lives, like, we didn't know what that was a couple of years ago. And if it wasn't for having that in place, which is why I think it is so important that people in this day and age go out and actually talk to people, the things that both me and you struggle with as young kids, go out there, put yourself in that uncomfortable situation, talk to people, because you never genuinely know who you're going to meet. You never know who you might connect with, who you might potentially do business with, start a bloody podcast, whatever the thing may be, which can then turn out to actually helping other people. And that all starts with getting out of your comfort zone and just talking, having that conversation. Go and visit that place.
That's it.
Go and talk to that person, whatever it may be. So, yeah, man, just on a side note, like I said, massive shout out to Metroflex Gym, to yourself, to the group that we have created, the community that we have created, just, within us boys. It's something that we value, so much, and we thank God, and we all glory to God for it. So,
and for me, the most beautiful part of it is that everyone is rebuilding themselves. Everyone reached that breaking point like yourself. You reached that breaking point and you said, I am going to rebuild myself through my physique, first and foremost, because like we've said in the past, we believe it's the easiest thing to change off the get-go.
The mental follows.
The mental follows, exactly. And then from there, you've built your business. You've built a community that we're all a part of. And I guess, how has your outlook on life changed from what did you think you could achieve back then as the 60-kilo teenager to now? Like, how much more ambition do you have now?
When you hear people like in positions that of quote unquote power where you want to be, and they talk about like, if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, dude. Like that can happen. Like I didn't think I'd be here. All I knew was that I wanted to do something, similar to what I'm doing right now, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I just knew it. But you figure it out. You figure it out over time, and you just keep working. You just don't stop. You're going to have your days, and there's going to be more shitty days than there are positive days. I'll tell you that from the get-go. It's so tough sometimes, especially once again for someone that was dealing with depression too, to overcome that.
It's necessary, right?
It is.
It's part of that learning process.
But that's how you learn, is to continue like pushing through that and continue pushing through it. And then when you'll have that day where you fall off and you're like, nah, this is it. It's gone tits up. That's it. The next day, wake up, push through it again, and just continuing to do that. So did I think I was ever going to be here? Did I really, truly believe it? No, not at the start. Did I make strides to do it every day from 10 years ago to now? Yes. And then about halfway through, I was like, I think maybe I can do this. I realized I have to build some sort of a decent physique as well for people to take me more seriously. I do believe. I think that helped for sure. If that helps me get my word out there, bro, and if I can help one person, at least, then that's my job done. You know what I'm saying? Then I feel fulfilled. That's what I intended to do. So where do I want to go from here, though? I just keep going, man. I don't know. I believe whatever I want is possible. Whether I get it now in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10, I don't know. I don't care, but I'll get there.
Did you have any moments of self-doubt along the way? And how do you deal with that?
Yes.
Especially, considering where you came from,
Yes.
It's a difficult place.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because I haven't been through what you went through. So did you find yourself along the way slipping back into that?
Maybe at the start, a little bit, because at the start those habits weren't, developed in concrete yet. But they become developed in concrete over time of just doing it, even when you don't want to, even when you second guess yourself and have that doubt. The amount of doubt that I've had over the last 10 years is insane. Like, you don't understand. I can't even like put it into words or contextualize it, man.
I think it's something that's necessary. It's like you listen to any entrepreneur, like Alex Hormozy, someone who says this all the time. It's like, you should be happy not knowing what the hell's going to happen. Like, Chris Williamson as well. He said it when he first started his podcast, he's like, I've got no idea where this is going to take me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's saying it's okay that I don't know.
Yep.
Because I'm willing to learn
Yes.
and continually willing to improve.
Yep.
And I think with each and every failure, like, I'll be open, like, last night I had an unsuccessful consult call with someone and I was kicking myself, for it,
sure.
just like we all do. Every time, we don't necessarily get the outcome that we wanted, it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I've just not wasted, but it's been, 40, 50 minutes of time that I could have spent doing something else, or I'm tired, or I squeezed this in just so I could, do this, whatever. And it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can either kick myself about it, or I can be like, you know what? I'm going to book in another call tomorrow. I'm going to go train again tomorrow. I'm sick today. I missed today's training session. There's tomorrow. And you and I both, you've been sick a number of times this year. I remember you had the food poisoning, you had the gastro. When you came back from Thailand, you got sick. I remember, I caught salmonella in January, and then I had the violent gastro about 8-9 weeks ago in prep. It's like, I could have turned around and said, oh, maybe, to hell with the prep. I'm not digesting food, whatever. Just like you could have said, you know what, I'm going to take 3 weeks off my business, tell all my clients their check-ins are going to be via those. But we haven't gone and done that. Why? Right? Why?
I think this is exactly the point that we're kind of dancing around, but we haven't gotten to, where those lessons that we learned along the journey of the physical transformation have translated perfectly into, let's say, for example, business, where it's a daunting thing and it's a scary thing. And for me, the biggest shock, the biggest awakening was, okay, I learned one concept in running a business.
There's another million.
And then the next day, there's a totally new concept that I've never been exposed to. And I think I'm back to square one. And I think that curiosity that we have within us, that desire to learn and to constantly want more, I think that stems from that journey that we've had in bodybuilding or in any sort of physical transformation, losing weight. It doesn't have to be competitive bodybuilding.
And overcoming anxiety.
Overcoming anxiety, things like that. I remember even last week where I just felt so overwhelmed because as soon as I thought I knew something, it's like, no, you don't know anything. You're actually completely ignorant.
Dunning-Kruger.
But what gets me through that is my biggest strength is my willingness to learn. And to humble myself and to think, okay, I can do this because I do want to learn and I will learn. And it was the same for bodybuilding, where I would get to a certain level of leanness and think that's not enough. I need to do more. Oh, but how am I going to peak? I haven't learned how to peak. I'm coaching myself. What am I doing? There's so many new concepts and it can be overwhelming, but those are the values that we learn through the journey, and that's what's really important.
Take it one day at a time.
That's it.
Then figuring it out as you go. You apply that to literally everything in life, but that's exactly what bodybuilding tells you. You don't know where you are or where you want to be, you don't know how you're going to get there, but you're going to keep doing the non-negotiables every day in order to eventually get there. You're going to fail, cool. You learn.
Exactly.
Failure is learning. Keep moving forward. That's what matters.
Keep failing. That's what I tell you. Keep failing.
If you stop failing, you've stopped learning.
Exactly.
So push yourselves into positions where you're going to fail so that you can learn from it.
And that's exactly what strength is. Strength isn't benching 150 kilos. No. Strength is falling and getting back up and then helping those around you up.
And how many times you can do that on repeat forever. Because
that's exactly right. Because it's going to happen forever.
Exactly. And that's what probably the hardest thing to come to terms with is, because even though we know that in our subconscious, tomorrow there's going to be someone that's going to come up that's going to challenge us, and we're going to go through that whole same process again. But we rely on those processes that we've built. We rely on for me, actually, this isn't something that I've really spoken about yet, but the other day I had a massive blow up, like at home, at Nick and at Mum. It was, when you're a couple of weeks out from prep, just I just had a whole bunch of, calls back to back, and, I had a whole bunch of stuff that I needed to sort out, and I was running behind on my own schedule, and I had actually messaged JP and I said, look, I think I need to slow things down too. I woke up really watery as well. And, I'll tell you, my coach is like, bro, just like pull back a bit, whatever. Anyway, and I stayed silent, as men do. I stayed silent the whole day pretty much. And then, my sister had a couple of her friends over and they were in the living room talking, just yapping. And I just started to like get pissed off. Anyway, Nick was away for 3 days at a Bucks party up in Queensland, right? And I'm like, shit, I've got 2 consult calls booked. I have to release a few, content episodes for this, cross-posted across all our socials, including YouTube now.
Yeah.
Do all this anyway, whatever, train, meal prep. And Nick's nowhere to be seen because, he's up, which again, he's entitled to do. But I had one of those moments where I just snapped, and I ended up snapping at Nick when he got home and at Mum over nothing.
Yeah.
I fully lost my freaking temper, right? Yeah. And it's that was a moment for me where I had to realize it's I just went through one of those moments that we speak about. One of those moments where you can either throw in the towel, you can either complain about your situation, or you can be like, you know what? You asked for this.
Yeah.
You chose to do a contest prep. You chose to pick this time to try and scale your business, to invest in yourself and whatnot. Okay, so what? I'm 2 weeks out, it's choosing your hard, something that Jerome says, something that all the boys say, right? So, yes, I snapped and I shouldn't have taken it to that point, but it's you know what? I look back on it now and I apologized to Nick. I apologized to Mum again, like I've done a million times before. And I decided, you know what? Tomorrow's a new fucking day.
That's it.
You know what? We're going to get it back at it. So what? I'm tired and fatigued. It is what it is, bro. We've all been through it. You've been through it. That's why I look up to boys like you, like the other boys who have all gone through these preps. And it's mate, everyone's still going through their business struggles. There's some people are parents that are going through prep. It's I've got a wedding. I've got one of my best mates' wedding this Saturday who I'm a groomsman for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the bridal party. I just messaged my coach this morning. I said to him, I said, look, kind of CBF, but you know what? I'm going to be there for him. I want to be present because it's extremely important that I'm there to celebrate it. He knows I'm bringing food with me. I'm just going to be prepared. And I have my meal prep back, and that's it. I'm there to be present and enjoy the moment, right? Regardless of the fatigue and whatnot. And as you said, I think that the most important part of all of that is slowly learning from each failure, from each thing that that we've gone through, from each experience, and just learning how to adapt and get better. And that's what it's all about.
And that's the beauty of bodybuilding, because you did let your emotions take control, and you were making an emotion-based decision, which is exactly what we preach against with stoicism. But you accept the failure for what it is and you move on so that next time you can be a little bit better. And this is the whole thing where you break yourself down. You strip yourself raw. It's just you bare bones who you are as a person. And slowly you improve. Slowly you improve. So the reason why I don't get upset with one of your outbursts is because I know what we have. Our relationship is much more important to me than that moment that is ruled by emotion, because I know that that's not who you are.
How you truly feel.
Exactly. I know that the more you keep having those outbursts, those moments of weakness, then the more you're going to build yourself up so that in 5 years' time, that's not going to be an issue that we have to worry about. And that's what stoicism is. That's what being self-aware is. It's about acknowledging your weaknesses, your shortcomings, your emotions, and slowly improving. Every time you fail, you learn from it.
And it's important to be open about it as well. You've been open about your struggles, actually talking about it. As you've seen.
It's important, man.
Well, how many men, like you said, are like, oh, harness your feelings, don't talk about it. Men are meant to be emotional. It's
absolutely not.
Yeah, that's right. You say even people like CBum, right, on the platforms that they have, be open to be vulnerable. And let people know that you can be vulnerable, because at the end of the day, and this goes for relationships too, right? If you can't be vulnerable around your missus and you can't show her that, you can actually empathize with her and feel what she's feeling, then what she got you there for? Do you know what I'm saying? We need to learn to be an emotional rock sometimes, and we also need to learn to speak about our own emotions, not from a little bitch perspective and sit there, complaining, because that's not what we're supposed to do as men. But just saying, hey, okay, these are the things that I know I need to work on myself. I'm being open about it. Like I said, Nick is probably one of the most mature people that I know, because like I said, bro, some of the shit that I've put him through in the past.
Same as my brother.
It's it'd be more than enough to pretty much break the relationship, But like I said, he's acknowledging I'm trying to better myself. I'm probably the hardest critic of myself that I know, because I know every time I do have these outbursts, it's like, oh, fuck, again. It's like, haven't you learned, you idiot, from last time? But I want to, learn each
yeah.
time.
And you do.
But
You
but that's
do.
the thing. Doesn't stoicism also acknowledge the fact that you will make mistakes?
Yeah.
It's just about centering yourself back into the triangle.
Exactly.
Exactly
Exactly.
right. It's all about acknowledging who you are, what you're made up of, and I guess your psyche and how that changes
Mm.
um, depending on what you go through. And that's why we put ourselves through these things. And we, I've noticed as well, we have very similar stories in terms of how we perceive work and how we will work ourselves to the ground. And like you had a job, uni, and
Yeah, bro.
business and
This
all
is
that.
when I was alone.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you've got a girlfriend as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also do it now. It's just on a different scale. Obviously, I'm not juggling like 5 things. It's just like 2 or 3 big things.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said, being alone is extremely important. There was a point where I cut off 2 friend groups because I realized they weren't adding any value to my life.
Yep.
No harm, no foul, you guys, but I love you all. They all played a part in my life
Yeah,
at
of
the same
course.
time. You know what I'm saying? And things happen for a reason. But I had to do that for myself in order to learn about myself, in order to figure out what I wanted, where I wanted to go. But yeah, 100%.
And it's not like transactional or anything like that. It's
No.
not like I'm getting this out of you, so you get this out of me.
Uh-uh.
It's more like I have my goals, I have my vision. You can either, support me in that,
Yeah.
or you can, keep doing your
Talking
own
about
thing.
with a partner
Either-
now?
No, with your friend groups that you cut off.
Yeah.
Like it's not a transactional
No,
thing.
and well, some of them now they've actually started coaching with me.
Oh, awesome.
They've been
wow.
with me for a bit and stuff. They come and go and stuff like that. But
Mm.
they've, and everything happens for a reason, man. And there's no, like I said, negativity towards anyone. Everything happens for a reason, man.
I think at the end of the day, to sort of wrap it all into a conclusion, I guess what you put out into the world is what you will get.
Yeah,
The more good you try and put out, the more genuine as a person you try to be, the more vulnerable as a man you try to be, and the more you try to learn as well. Generally speaking, you will receive all that back.
yeah,
It may take a very long time.
yeah.
We expect it to take a very long time, because hard work doesn't pay off. Alex Hormozy says it takes 15 years for people to call you an overnight success.
Yeah.
Exactly,
15
That's
years
it.
of hard work, and then all of a sudden,
That's
you're an
it.
overnight success. So, it's like you just need to be in it for the long run. You need to know the reasons why you're doing it. Be happy and content with yourself, who you are as a person. And then I think those are literally all the tools that you need to live a happy and successful life, whatever that may look like for you.
Yeah.
But being a genuine person and just wanting to genuinely help people is where that starts from. Because at the end of the day, we are here to give back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be very selfish. Obviously, we want to build the best for ourselves, but at the same time, we genuinely want to give back and help other people. And I think that is what seems to be forgotten the most in modern day society, because we do live in such an extremely selfish, place where people just seem to care about themselves and what, how much money they make or they spend or show off whatever the hell they want to show off. And they seem to forget that, society wasn't built on one person. It was built in a community. You couldn't, they didn't build the Parthenon with one builder, How many people died building the Harbour Bridge? It's like everything was built by community, and that will always stay the same no matter how many times they try to break it or separate it. So I think being a part of that and trying to improve yourself is the most important thing you can do.
I agree.
George, any finishing thoughts?
Give me a little.
What's a piece of advice that you would give to someone that finds themselves in the position that you were in? How do they get into it?
There was something I was listening to the other day, and it was like, cliches are there for a reason. Cliches are there because they work and they're true. They've been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So my cliche for you today is just never give up. Just don't stop. You can apply that to everything. I promise you'll overcome it if you enter it with an open mind, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I guess your story is proof that no matter how broken you are, no matter what rock bottom you find yourself in, getting out of it is a choice.
100%.
and you made that choice, and you were able to rebuild yourself from the ground up, start from scratch, and it all came from one decision.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very powerful.
If it is within your reach, consider it in your
Yeah.
limits.
That's it. Don't let life happen to you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, George.
Anytime.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
Fantastic conversation, bro.
Yes.
And
Can't wait to have many more.
I'm so down for it. Bro.
That's right.
Yeah. Talk
That's
for
right.
4 hours if you want.
Fantastic stuff, boys.
Was that 2 hours there?
No,
An hour and a half.
yeah.
Not even, yeah. That was good.
Oh.
No, I wanted